actually spinning you.
Transition to towards line. Oh shit.
So the main structure of the plane is finished. This is going to be the main wing spar. The pivots are going to be on the tips of these spars, and then the rear elevator will be mounted on the back here. It's got a 1.6mm fiberglass reinforced plastic plate with some stainless steel 3mm bolts to hold it all together. Should be pretty strong and also pretty light. So after 30 hours of building, this is the final product. My version 3 vertical takeoff tilt rotor aircraft. I've actually had the design for this plane in my head for the last 4 months, but due to the joys of video editing, I did it all in 3 days. So the aircraft has 2 electric motors in a bicopter configuration, similar to the V-22 Osprey. You may have also noticed that I called it the version 3 vertical takeoff plane. That's because this is the 3rd vertical takeoff bicopter configuration plane that I've built. If you haven't already checked out my previous vertical takeoff aircraft, then please click on the links in the description below. So you may be thinking, how does this plane balance if it's only got 2 motors? Well, the same mechanism that tilts the motors for forward flight also controls the pitch axis in a hover. If the plane is disturbed by a gust of wind or any kind of other external force, it has no way of returning to level flight. Just because the centre of gravity is below the propellers does not mean it will swing back to level like a pendulum. So to bring the plane back to level, the motors must be rotated to create a moment about the centre of gravity. It sounds quite simple in theory, but it's actually quite complicated to get to work in the real world. So let's get on with the first test hover. To keep the weight down as low as possible, I'm using just a 4-cell 1800 mAh battery. I realised just after takeoff that the aircraft was tail heavy, and no matter how much I pushed forward on the elevator stick, the nose would not go down. Before going to find another battery, I thought it would be a good idea to test how well the elevator can control the pitch at a very slow speed. So I took off in hover mode and hovered around at a relatively slow speed to see if the elevator could bring the nose down. This worked pretty well until the aircraft slowed down, and this happened. So enough of messing around with that. I went and grabbed another battery and adjusted the CG.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Tail not heavy now.
Oh, that is perfect.
Perfect.
Look, hands off.
Doesn't it real? Tom, what you got to do is when you're... Oh, oi, oi!
That was... Oh shit.
There was a spark there, Tom. What happened there?
Well, what happened was, I had auto level programmed into the pitch axis on the flight controller. This became an issue because no matter what attitude the aircraft was at, the motors would always be vertical. So when the aircraft started flying backwards towards me, I pushed forward on the elevator stick and all it did was pitch the nose down, and the motors just kept the plane hovering until it got to an extreme angle and the multicopter board freaked out. The speed controller let out a bit of a spark when it hit the patio, but it seemed to be alright, so I kept testing.
Nice. That looks perfectly balanced. Tail's just tweaking a bit. No, that's fine. Do you want me to follow it with this, Tom?
No, that's fine.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Maybe you should crack it more often because it flies better. Very good. Look at that.
It's a really slow, like... I think that's partly me, because I'm slightly doing that.
We need slow movement, you mean?
Well, you see where it was rocking on the pitch axis, I think that was partly me, because I'm continuously moving the controls.
Yeah.
Because the gyros can only do so much.
Yes. Keep it on that grass. I'm glad you didn't knack at the speed controller.
Yeah. Oh, look at that!
Right in that middle square, mate.
Oh, that is so cool.
Don't get cocky.
That's amazing.
So it was time to move to a bigger field and get some airflow over those wings. To get the centre of gravity right this time, I used 2 1500 mAh 4-cell batteries. This increased the weight of the aircraft by quite a bit, and therefore increased the stall speed. So in this flight, I just transitioned to slow forward flight, which is essentially halfway through the transition, so the motor pods were rotated to 45 degrees. One thing I noticed from the first transition back to hover was that the aircraft started to do a bit of a pitch oscillation. I believe this was due to the aircraft stalling. However, it didn't really help that it was descending through its own prop wash.
Transition to slow forward flight now.
The reason for testing with this half transition mode is so that I can get a feel for the aircraft in forward flight, but still have the backup of the motors taken over if the aircraft gets a bit too fast and out of hand.
Flies very fast, even in slow forward flight. Transition. Transition back.
The reason for that dodgy transition was due to a row of trees that were just behind me, and the aircraft was heading straight for it. So I kind of had to do a sideways transition, drift into the wind. So yeah, that was a bit sketchy.
Success.
So this is the first flight where I will transition to full forward flight. I swapped out the batteries for a lighter one so that the stall speed was as low as possible. However, this also meant that it was tail heavier in a hover, as you'll see in a second. The pitching up was counteracted as soon as I got some airflow over the rear elevator, so it could push the nose back down.
Okay, so it can fly a lot slower now because there's less weight to hold. But it hovers a lot worse. So I flick it to full forward flight. I want to do it when it's coming towards us because then I won't lose it to sun.
So I gained some altitude and flick the switch.
It's flying all from the wings now.
And then back to half transition mode, which is a bit more relaxing to fly around with.
I think I'm going to land it like a plane just to be safe. Or at least come in with a bit of full speed. Perfect. Yeah, the centre of gravity needs to be moved forwards a bit, but it's all good. Hover around for a little bit.
Damn, that's cool. I got the two quads and the wing going backwards.
And it's really stable.
Yeah, it's more stable than the older one was. Yeah, that looks good.
That's slow though.
I want to do some pirouette stuff.
Go on, Tom, punch it.
Right, I'm transitioning to slow forward flight now, but don't be in front of it just yet.
I'll stay behind you, yeah, that's good.
How is it?
Right, next time round I'm flicking to full forward flight. Full forward now.
He's losing you.
I'm going over the road. But...
Oh!
Oh god, don't hit each other there. If we go down, we're in the trees.
Someone's got to do a roll all the way
How
round.
much time have you got left?
Yeah, all the way around.
Oh, I've got 1100 milliamp hour.
So, lines with the quad to get behind him so you can see everyone in the video.
You can go away.
Go up a bit higher.
Transition to forward line. Onto it.
Oh!
Transition to ground mode.
So that crash was completely my fault. I forgot to glue these servo connectors together right here, which control the ESCs for the motors. I kept these plugs together here so that I can program the speed controllers with Blheli, but every other wire is soldered, direct soldered. So now I've glued it together, hopefully that'll never happen again. So I guess as a whole the project was a pretty good success. It hovered actually really well, better than I expected. Hovered much better than my previous VTOL actually, considering it was more mechanically unstable due to the distance between the centre of gravity and the motor pivots being slightly shorter. The 3D printed motor tilts with the gears to the servos worked pretty well. I do need to modify the gears slightly because they do slip in a crash, as you just witnessed. The total weight of the aircraft was 1,068 grams, which is actually pretty decent. That's without a battery. I'm still trying to work out what's the best battery combination, and also I need to do some efficiency testing with the propellers. As I mentioned earlier, I built the plane in 3 days. However, it's probably been in the design stage for the last 4 to 5 months. I'm actually doing it as my final year project at university, so this won't be the last you see of it. I will be gathering more data on it and also trying to optimise the transition period of it. I'll be putting the specifications of the plane in the description below. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, check out my videos to my previous vertical takeoff projects here. I also have my Instagram and Facebook links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.